So, good morning to everybody. I hope you can see the screen properly. So, please allow me to welcome all you to this first presentation webinar about the first open call of the EDI program, the incubation program. My presentation will basically explain you all what are the opportunities for big data entrepreneurs and innovators in Europe. So, first of all, just to let you know that we started this project the 1st of January of this year, and it will end the 30th of June of 2021. It's a 7 million euros project, and there are 20 partners involved in the consortium coming from 10 different countries. It is very important to distinguish or to indicate that there are two types of partners in this project so far. First, there is the core consortium, which are the members that are essentially running the day-to-day of the project, and I will later on explain what are the responsibilities of each of us. And very importantly, we have a good range of data providers. We have already 15 data providers on board who are facilitating their challenges and the data sets over which those challenges have to be tackled. So one of the good things about EDI is that it offers entrepreneurs, big data innovators, the opportunity to have direct access to data sets already selected by the data providers that are part of the consortium. So in this second slide, this chart, basically it is explained everything that the project does. The project is an incubation program. Our purpose is to transform the challenges that are posed by data providers together with the data sets that they offer to all of us into big data solutions at the end of this funnel that we want to implement. So if you apply to the open call and you are lucky and are successful and you are selected to take part into our incubation program, you may go through the 3 steps that are depicted in this diagram. So basically, those that end up being selected after the evaluation that takes place once you submit your proposals through these first and the 2 upcoming, later on coming open calls, pass into the explore phase, where you have to be able to produce a mock-up and present it live in an event that will take place in Berlin. Those that demonstrate the feasibility, viability of their solution pass to the next phase, which is the experiment phase. And there you receive a lot of support from the whole core consortium members of the project in terms of receiving some coaching, training, mentoring, to help you not only producing a solution that truly addresses the problem of a given data provider, but also being able to create a business plan that will make your solution stand and survive and make business after the end of this incubation process. So those that not only have a good MVP, but also have a good business plan will progress to the last stage of the incubation process, which is the evolve phase, where in this case further funding is sought and opportunities are explored on how to develop a true business out of the results of this incubation process. So this is essentially what EDI wants to achieve. EDI wants to achieve that entrepreneurs, big data innovators in Europe embark into this incubation program, and they will get technical, business, and financial support in order to transform the challenges that have been posed by data providers together with the data set they offer into real big data solutions. So just a very brief intro of where this incubation program fits. This incubation program has been developed in order to foster entrepreneurship, the creation of successful companies in the domain of big data. where Europe, regretfully, is not a big stakeholder. Mainly it's a domain that is being controlled right now by big American companies that we all know, big corporations like Amazon, Google, and so on and so forth. So the idea is how we can help Europe to have a stronger presence in the big data domain. And the question that you all have to ask yourselves today, attending to this webinar, is if you want to be an active agent in the European big data ecosystem. We hope that through this program, we encourage you to really embark in this adventure of creating successful big data European companies. So why is EDI made for you, big data entrepreneur, big data innovator? Well, essentially because we think that there is lots of talent out there in Europe of people that is able to come up with data solutions to solve real industrial challenges, which in this case have been published by the 15 data providers that currently are part of our consortium. If you explore the information available in our website regarding the challenges that are often, you will discover that they are offered in a wide range of sectors, including the energy sector, including internet and media, the smart cities domain, the retail domain, or even industry 4.0. It is very important to also notice that you don't need necessarily to solve a concrete challenge from one of our data providers. You may come up with a new cross-cutting challenge you can devise, you can come up with, you can invent. But the condition is that to take part in this program, you must use the data sets provided by our data providers. So this is a very important restriction. You may use additional data sets, but you must, at the very least, if you embark into the cross-cutting challenge facet or type of participation in our program, in that case, you must use at least 2 data sets from our data providers. So, what do we offer to you? So, the Commission has granted us 5 million euros to share, to distribute among big data entrepreneurs in Europe. The objective of the project is to come up with at least 100 new big data startups, or also help some already emerging SMEs in this domain. And by taking part in EDI, you will explore, experiment, and evolve solutions in the big data area. What are the services that we are offering you? We will be offering you a free cloud environment for scalable data processing. So you don't need to use your own resources, to invest your own money allocating or buying computing and storage. We provide that for you. We also provide you the data sets that have been already selected, prepared, and are being anonymized by the data providers in the consortium. We will be offering you some free business coaching and technical support. You will be assigned a coach that will follow your project as it develops in the incubation process. In the case that you have any technical issues with the infrastructure that we are making available for you, you can ask us. We will try to help you. We will be also offering you training on the technical and on the business side. There will be several webinars that take place during the whole incubation process. And very importantly, your work will be financed. You will be able to receive up to 100,000 euros in equity-free funding. So I guess that you all are aware of the deadlines of our first open call, but just a quick reminder once more that the deadline for the submission of hopefully highly potential proposals is 27th of June 2018. So just a very quick go through the partners of the consortium. As I said before, there are 5 core consortium partners which are University of Deusto as coordinator of the project, Zavala Innovation Consulting as coordinator of Work Package 2, which is basically a work package where all the open calls are arranged and the evaluation process of those open calls is organized. The third partner, F6X, who are the leaders of dissemination and exploitation issues in the project, and who have organized actually this webinar. Then the fourth partner that appears in the list is the engineering Italian company, which is responsible for Work Package 3, whose duty is to provide the big data infrastructure and the data catalog, where the data sets made available by the data providers are accessible by those of you that sign a contract with us. More details about that later. And finally, there is this German company called EDI Venture Startup that is going to be responsible of coordinating the Work Package 4, which deals with the whole business and solution, big data solution incubation process. Furthermore, as you can see in this long list, from item 6 to 20, there is a wide range of data providers, European data providers, that in different domains, the ones that I already highlighted before, energy domain, smart cities domain, transport domain, are offering their data sets, and they are also indicating us what are their challenges, the main challenges that they envisage could be solved by processing, analyzing the contents of those data sets. So now, in the next two slides, I will just tell you a few more details in depth about the project. So the project, as I said, starts with already 15 data providers on board that hopefully are gonna persuade many of you to come up with solutions that address the challenges that they have already published. Our intention is that as the project progresses for the second and third phase of the project, be aware that the project is going to run 3 incubation processes, and each incubation process lasts 1 year. We envisage that we will incorporate at least 10 new different data providers. So they will come to the project with their new data challenges and their new data sets. You will not be alone in this process of incubation. Startups and SMEs that are selected as a result of taking part in our first open call will come with a set of technical and business development services. We will be offering you training. We will be assigning you coaches. We will be offering you the chance to contact with mentors which are experts in different aspects which may be key for you to develop a sustainable, successful big data solution. Your performance will be controlled by the definition of a range of KPIs if you take part in the incubation process. As I said, it will be the coach, the one that will monitor, control the progress, and will assist the participating companies, the participating startups, SMEs, or as we call them in EDI, sub-grantees in this incubation process. There are 2 partners, engineering and Deusto, who are responsible to help the teams with technical aspects. And across the whole incubation process, you will be receiving funding, always taking into account the results you have achieved. So if you achieved, so the idea is that we will measure what is the percentage of achievement of your KPIs, and you will be getting money according to the degree of achievement. As I already said, the program has 5 million to distribute among big data entrepreneurs in Europe, and it is very important to highlight that there are 2 types of challenges that you can solve. You can solve the domain-specific challenges that have been published by the data providers, or you can come up, you can devise, you can create, generate a new cross-domain challenge inspired by the datasets that we have published in the EDI data catalog. And finally, my last remark about the project is that it will be active for 3.5 years, and if you happen to be one of the open call winners, you will have up to 8 months to develop your projects. So definitely, if you are a winner of the open call, of the first open call, you will take part in the explore phase. And this phase will last 2 months. Then you may qualify for the next phase, the experimentation phase that will last 4 months. And finally, you may qualify for the evolve phase that will last another 2 months. So this simple diagram basically illustrates the funnel incubation approach that is going to be followed during the project. And in here you can see the dates in which each of the iterations of the incubation process is going to take place. From April to August, the open call will be running. You will have to submit your proposals by the end of June. And then an evaluation process will be kicked off, and you will be notified of the results of the evaluation process towards the end of August. Then, those of you resulting winners of the open call will progress into the explore phase, where you will automatically be granted 5,000 euros to do what? So basically to come up with a mock-up and to defend that mock-up in a pitch that will take place in a key event called Datathon, which will take place at the end of October in Berlin. If you defend a promising solution with high potential, you may qualify to the next phase, the experiment phase, where you may get up to 80,000 euros. And there'll be 3 controls of achievement of KPIs during this process, and we will be releasing funds as the experiment phase progresses. In this phase, you will have to produce an elaborated business plan. You will also take part in some training activities, and you will make use of the infrastructure to devise the MVP of your solution. Again, in this case in Bilbao, there will be a final event where you will have to defend your solution. And if it is promising both from a technical and from a business point of view, you may qualify to the next stage of the incubation, which is evolve, where you may get, again, up to 15,000 euros. Okay, this overview is very similar to the previous slide, but in here, basically, we actually define what kind of activities, main activities, will be carried out during each of the phases. This diagram is available in the website and is further explained also in our public website. But I hope that after my previous slide, it is clear that the incubation process consists of 3 phases, and the idea is that you increasingly are obtaining a more mature product with a better defined business plan. And if you reach to the last stage, you will be ready to get funding from investors in order to pursue your project. So this is it from my side. This is the first part of the webinar, and now I pass the word to my colleague Miguel Garcia from Zabala, who is going to continue, in this case, giving much more details about the open call participation process. Thank you very much.
Now I will share my screen. I see. Okay. Okay. Now I guess you can see my screen. Wonderful. So I will go to the first slide. So good morning, everybody. I am Miguel Garcia. I am the co-manager at the EDI projects, the European Data Incubator. So I'm going to go into the details on how to submit a proposal and what's the evaluation process like for us, so that you don't have any problem when submitting, okay? So my presentation will be divided in these sections. And remember, this is a process that Diego has just mentioned. So we're gonna focus here, okay? The very first part that you will need to be a successful startup or SME engage with us. So we're starting for the submission. So this is public money, okay? So we're using funds coming from the European Commission through the Horizon 2020 program. So we are a bit different than a traditional accelerator incubator program you might have heard of before. We are using public funding, and that means that we should follow some guidelines and restrictions that may not apply with private funding. On the other hand, we are equity free, so that means that we are not taking any capital of your company. We will not own any shares of your company after the process and that kind of stuff. So we're a bit different. And in order to make it legal, we have defined some guidelines which are accessible through this presentation, but are also accessible on our website and if you follow our Twitter accounts and everything. So my first recommendation is read them, okay? Indeed, you're going to declare that you have read those guidelines. In those guidelines is where all the process is defined, is where all the legal aspects are clearly marked, and this is where we will base all our decisions on. So read the guidelines, that's the message. First thing, how to submit in different instructions. So the first step is that you select a challenge from our catalog. So we have a bunch of challenges which are described on this link. So let me see if I can share also this one. Yes, wonderful. So these are the challenges if we click on the presentation. And you will see they are categorized by a different number of different sectors and colors and everything. So we have 14 different challenges. The first one, let's say, is pretty open, and the rest ones are really, really concrete. Every challenge brings attached a number of data sets that if you click, for instance, on this one, you will see who's the proposer of the challenge, the data provider, so on and so forth, and also the data set which is available. Just to let you know that there's a good description of what we're expecting with each of the challenges, okay? So you have to be very concrete on that aspect. But on the other hand, it is also true that for the first challenge, which is the open one, we are just asking you to use a couple of data sets coming from different sectors from our catalog. Also important, as Diego mentioned, the data sets that are available here in the data catalog are not the full data sets, they're just samples. So if you're qualified for entering into the experiment phase, you will be probably given further data than what you see now on a website. And this is because the data is not open, it's proprietary mainly, and obviously there will be a quite close interaction with the data providers while you're qualified for the experiment phase, okay? Coming back to the presentation. So main ideas here, all the challenges are specific, but the first one, it is compulsory to use your data, and I reinforce the word compulsory. So if you don't use your data, you're not eligible. We'll talk about eligibility after. So important message, don't get out of the challenges, knowing that the first one is pretty wide. Second part of the submission, check out our data sets and propose a solution. Here's the link, and then the same messages. You need to use your data. Examples are available now. Examples, I mean samples of the data are available now, so you can start playing even at this point. And you will give you an access to full data sets as if selected. This is what I just mentioned. Third thing, the only way for submission is F6S platform. There's no other way to submit a proposal, not by email, not by another platform, not by sending a Dropbox link. There's no way we are going to accept any proposals which has not been submitted through F6S application. So we are totally equity free. There are no hidden fees. Plus, the services we offer are totally free. So it's not only the money, it's also about the services. As I mentioned, this is only available through F6S, and we are reliable and we are dependent on easy funds, which means you will see in the contracts and in the guidelines that there are some references to the European Commission. Legal aspects. Not very tough things, but for instance, the Commission usually likes to do dissemination of the things they fund, so this will be the case as well. So if you're selected, you will have to acknowledge the origin of the funds and things like that, okay? So these are the ways for the submission. What is the proposal about? The proposal is comprised of two different things. An online form, which is short, plus a declaration of honor. So the declaration of honor is also available on our website, and it's a number of declarations that you tick on a box to say you agree, which basically says that you have read the information, that you agree with the information, so on and so forth. Read them through, okay? The online form comprises different sections in which we will ask you about the challenge you're submitting. We will also ask you some administrative information about your company or your team. We will also ask you some questions about some figures of your business. We will ask you questions about your marketing strategy, the team behind, the experience, the data technologies that you're going to use in the project, and so on. And as we said, submitted through the F6S platform. Important issues. So once you submit the proposal, the next step is the proposal or the opening of the call will be closed. That will happen the 27th of June at noon, 12 p.m. After that, the first check that we're going to do is defining or checking if you are eligible. There are some rules that need to be accomplished in order to be eligible. So we are basically defining these 8 eligibility criteria. So before you do a submission, be sure that you're eligible, because if you are not eligible, you're not going to be even evaluated, okay? So be sure that you're eligible. So who's eligible? Eligible, as first understanding, the first criteria is if you're an SME, according to the definition of SME by the European Commission, or a group of individuals from 2 to 4 in the EU or associated country. Associated to the Horizon 2020, that means, for instance, Switzerland or Norway or Turkey or Israel can be also eligible countries. So when we say that SME or group of individuals established in those countries, we mean that in the case of SMEs is clear, is that you're legally established in a country. In the case of the individuals, means that you're currently legally established and working from one of those countries. So that means that you need to have a legal visa to work in the EU member state or associated member state to be eligible. We don't care where you're born, we care where you pay your taxes, okay? So that's the main eligible criteria here. And yes, we're going to fund individuals. That is, if a group of collaborators want to group together and build something, they can submit the proposal as person number A, person number B. Our requirement is to set up a company only if you reach the experiment phase, which is the one that gives you 80K. So we understand that for the first phase is not needed, but at least for the second one will be required. Okay, so that's also important. We want to foster the creation of innovative startups on the big data domain. Second eligibility criteria, original works. That means that we're going to check if proposals have been copy-pasted from others. Okay, original work. Don't copy others. Okay. Important thing, your organization or your team has not been previously funded in data pitch. So for those of you who are new to the European calls, data pitch is a twin project which has been running for over a year now with a similar approach to us. So we do not want to double fund initiatives that have been already funded and selected by your twin project data pitch. So we are sharing the lists of who's been funded by who, and we are not going to select somebody who has been already engaged with data pitch. Another eligibility criteria is the usage of the data in our catalog. So there are specific questions which ask you about the data that you're going to use from our catalog. So if you don't fulfill that correctly, they're obviously not eligible. Second set of eligibility criteria, use big data tools. So this is about big data, so you need to use big data tools. And you will need to explain what sort of data tools you're going to be using. Are you going to use any sort of analytic tools for visualization, or what algorithms, or in definitive, what is the core element of the big data proposal you're going to present here. Again, another eligibility criteria is filling the proposal with valid information of F6S. That means that if we see that you're submitting nonsense words in some of the fields because you don't know what to say, or if you're fulfilling misleading information or false information, you will be automatically disqualified. Okay. Clearly justify your selected challenge. That is, if you decide to apply to the challenge of data provider number 3, you will need to clearly say how you plan to sort out that challenge. We say that because we understand that in some cases somebody might come to the platform and say they're going to solve challenge number 3 and then propose a different thing. So that will not make sense for us, and that is an eligibility criteria as well. And another issue about multiple participation, which is not allowed. So you can submit as many proposals on different challenges as you want, but the fact is that we will only evaluate the one that reaches us in the last minute or in the last position. So if you submit 4 different proposals to 4 different challenges, only the last one will be evaluated. The first 3 will be automatically dropped out. And that means that you can, by mistake, submit something which is not eligible in the last place. So that will make you submit only 1 proposal which is not valid and is not eligible, and in definitive, having 4 different proposals which are not eligible. So be careful with this. We don't want to refund the same team with different ideas through a number of times. We just want different teams being part of the incubator. Okay? Important as well, we will inform in the cases of individuals, if a person decides to participate with different teams on different proposals, we will inform all the team members, the other team members, of this multi-participation of their colleague, and we will make that colleague to choose which one they go to. So that will be a matter of being one proposal not eligible, because if that person selects a proposal with a team of 2, if he or she decides to leave, it will be a team of 1 which will not be eligible. Okay, that's about multi-participation. Then what happens? Okay, consider your proposal is considered eligible, so you go into what we call the automatic sorting. So based on your answers on F6S, we will automatically sort the proposals following our internal red flags, which are not and will not be public as long as we have open calls. That is, we have put some internal KPIs, we can call them, to monitor certain things of the proposals. If we detect these red flags at some point, the proposal is automatically discarded. I know some of you wouldn't like this approach, but this is motivated by the fact that we are expecting a huge number of proposals. And given our experience on acceleration and incubation programs, we have clear some thoughts about what things we should be looking for and what things we shouldn't be looking for. So these red flags will be made public after all the 3 calls are over, so that you can see that we're clear with that, but not before that. So it will be it's still 2 or 3 years to go until we make these red flags public, so that people cannot cheat on their proposals. Then it's also important. We know that there are different teams, or different types of teams. We will have SMEs which have been established for 20 years. We will have groups of individuals which just have decided to set up a new idea or a new concept. To that aim, we are going to divide the groups or the proposals into groups. One is the early stage, the other ones are the established ones. So you have the differences there. The early stage will be for the teams of individuals, and the SMEs which are 3 years or less. And the established companies are for those companies who have more than 3 years of existence. Okay, that's also relevant for the program and the development afterwards. Once you've been informed, or once you've been automatically sorted and you pass, then we'll have the manual interaction of the external and evaluators. Okay, so there will be mainly 3 criteria for all the challenges, plus an additional challenge fit criteria for those who are challenge specific, as it is all of the challenges but the first one. So basically, you will need to get 3 points on each criteria on the technical approach, business potential, and team composition, and a minimum of 12 points in total to be eligible to enter the project. So as you can see, with all this filtering, automatic sorting, and everything else, we are looking for excellent teams, excellent projects, providing an answer to the challenges that we have proposed you. So this will be the evaluation criteria, and afterwards you will be informed. So basically, here's a summary of all the process. So if you're not eligible, you will receive a rejection letter. If you get any red flag, you will get a rejection letter. And if you go into the remote evaluation, then we will make some lists. Some of the lists will go automatically to the rejection, others will be in a queue list or a waiting list, and then some of them will be pre-selected. The pre-selection, it's the final step before we communicate or we sign a sub-grantee agreement. So the idea is that after we do the pre-selection, we inform the teams about their situation, and then we have to formalize a contract between the University of Deusto, which is the coordinator, and each of the teams. So the idea is that you're pre-selected until you sign that contract, in which that moment you enter into a selected team. So if any of the pre-selected teams drops out for legal reasons during the sub-grantee agreement signature, then we will go to the waiting list. Okay. So this is the final step for the process. Where can you find more information? So some of you have already been sending out emails or asking us about clarifications about the call and so on, but I would recommend you to first read the FAQ section on our website. Then if you don't find the answer, send us an email. Or next week, we're going to be at the Fireware Global Summit in Porto, in Portugal, on Tuesday and on Wednesday. There will be a similar session on Wednesday afternoon, face-to-face to all of you, where we'll have also the interaction with some of the data providers that will be present there. So you can also talk to some of the data providers there. Or last but not least, you can ask some questions now before we finish. So we have like 15 minutes for questions. That is great. And the last, very, very last reminder, the deadline. It is at 12 p.m., not at midnight. That's important. The system will close at noon. And if you have not submitted the proposal on time, you're out. So do not leave this for the very last minute or for the very last days, okay? I think I'm done. Yep. So
Thank you, Miguel.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to Q&A. So if anyone has a question, please write it in the group chat or unmute yourself.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Anna. So I have just one question. Is it possible to reach out to data providers and ask more specific questions about these challenges? Because although they are very well described, there are still some unclarities, which in my opinion will influence our proposed solutions greatly. So is it an option?
Yes, it is indeed. So through our general email, opencall@ediincubator.eu, you can send us an email and tell us who we should direct or which data provider we should direct the question, and then we will put you in contact.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Okay.
So we had another question from Temis about the Porto conference that's taking place next week. It's the Fireware Summit, and Nuno placed the link on the group chat about with information about the event.
Yeah, one important thing there. The event is wider, so the whole event takes place 2 days, and it's about fireware technologies. There will be different sessions on different verticals like smart cities, smart industry, and agriculture. So some of us will be participating in some of the panels of debate. The info session, which is also promoted by the city of Porto, will be happening on Wednesday at 5 p.m. and it is right after the official closure of the event. So if you want to go straight to the info session, you don't need a ticket. It is free assistance and it's open. If you want to go to the overall Fireware Summit, where we will have a stand and participation, and I will encourage you to attend as well, you will need a ticket. Okay?
Regarding the technical question about whether we will make available GPU facilities in the cloud provider, initially we were not considering to provide GPU processors, only standard processors. We will relinquish details only when the experimentation phase starts in September, but the original plans are to have a standard processors.
As for the question on the presentations, yes, these will be shared and sent by email to everyone.
We will publish the presentations directly in the website. We will tweet the presentations too in our Twitter account. So I encourage you all to follow us, and that way you'll find the locations where both presentations will be made available.
Yeah, also another message, spread the news, okay? So if you know people who might be interested, feel free to forward whatever information we have provided to you, okay?
Yeah, and do ask about any doubts you might have about the challenges. Obviously, we have to ensure equal opportunities to everybody. So if those questions are later considered of the answers are considered of common interest, we will update the description of the challenges. Okay, but please ask and ensure that you understand well what are the needs of the data providers and what are the contents of the exams, fragments of data sets that are being published currently in the data catalog.
Other questions?
Hi, this is Boris. I just have a quick question. regarding the level of detail of the proposed solutions. So, because I saw in your presentation that you expect to have mock-ups only after the first phase, which is the exploration. But is it okay to propose some kind of mock-ups also in this phase and to work on the provided data and to show some results?
Okay, there are three phases. In the explore phase, the initial one, you are only going to have access to the fragments of data that are publicly available through the data catalog.
Yes, we already have those fragments, right? That are available.
Yes. It will be only when you actually start using our public, our freely available infrastructure that you will have access to the full data sets.
Yes.
And so it will be in the experiment, in the second stage of the incubation process.
Yes, but the data that we are going to use in the exploration phase, we have this data already available on the website. So can we already work on the mockups and on the, on the data analysis?
Yeah, of course. Of course. In your own computing infrastructure, you obviously can already be exploring different options for your solution.
Yes, because it might be useful to provide the mockup, ideas also in this phase before entering the exploration.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I would say about that check on the there is one of the questions in the proposal is related on how you expect to do the challenge or how to tackle the challenge. So if you've already done some experiments, you can obviously propose some issues you might have seen already there. That's pretty cool, I would say. But obviously, it's not only, remember that we are not only evaluating the technical issue of the solution that you're posing, it's also about the team and it's also about the business behind. Take that.
Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So our idea is to work a bit more on the data and to see what kind of results we could get, not just to say, okay, in the exploration phase we will work on analyzing this and that, but also to try to have something. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So just share again the deadline. Okay. More questions, comments? Okay. So Sofia, Diego, maybe it's time we close. And thank you everyone for joining from my side.
Yeah, thank you from my side too for joining this first webinar, and I encourage you all to interact with all of us, to read the FAQ, to pose questions. We will try to answer them as soon as possible. And participate, please. Disseminate, pass the word and participate in the open call.
Thank you. You'll be receiving an email with the presentations. Looking forward to receive the applications. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.